Who are you? No, not your name, your job, or the roles others assign to you. Who are you really? Beneath the noise of expectations, beneath the masks you wear to fit into society, there is someone waiting to be discovered. That person is not born fully formed. That person must be created. And no one understood this more powerfully than Friedrich Nietzsche. Nietzsche once wrote, "Become who you are." At first glance, this might sound like a contradiction. If you are someone already, why must you become it? But therein lies the depth of Nietzsche's message. He challenges you to rise beyond what you have been told to be, to dismantle the borrowed values that shape your identity, and to uncover the deeper, truer self that has been buried by conformity and fear. In a world obsessed with quick fixes and external validation, Nietzsche's words cut through like a blade. He does not promise comfort. He promises freedom. The freedom that comes from struggle, self-examination, and radical self-honesty. To become who you are is not a passive process. It's a lifelong journey of transformation. It demands courage, self-overcoming, and the willingness to walk alone if necessary. You were not meant to be a copy of someone else's ideal. You were meant to be an original, an unfolding, evolving soul that claims its place in the world not by fitting in, but by standing out. Nietzsche knew that the greatest tragedy of modern life is not that people suffer, but that they suffer without becoming. They suffer in silence, in roles that don't fit, in lives that aren't truly theirs. To Nietzsche, the self is not given, it is earned. And the first step is the destruction of illusions. You must unlearn what society, family, religion, and tradition have taught you to blindly accept. You must question every should and ought, every imposed identity, until what remains is not a shell, but a spark, a flicker of authenticity. This is not a journey for the faint-hearted. Nietzsche calls this path the way of the creator, the one who dares to shape their own values, their own purpose, their own meaning. It's not rebellion for its own sake, it's reinvention. And at the heart of it all is the challenge to become who you are, even if it costs you everything you thought you were. But how do you begin? What does it mean to become who you are in the real, everyday world? Is it abandoning everything and starting anew? Or is it something quieter, something deeper, an inner revolution that changes how you see yourself, and how you live your life? In this exploration, we'll dive into Nietzsche's most powerful ideas on self-becoming, the death of external gods, the rise of the inner will, the role of suffering, the concept of the eternal return, and the ultimate test of authenticity. This is not philosophy for the classroom. This is philosophy for the soul.
Become who you are means self-creation, not self-discovery.
When Friedrich Nietzsche wrote the phrase, "Become who you are," he wasn't inviting us to go on a treasure hunt for a pre-existing identity buried somewhere deep within. Instead, he was calling for a radical act of self-creation. In Nietzsche's view, the self is not something we find like a lost object. It is something we build, shape, and forge through conscious effort, struggle, and personal vision. This distinction changes everything about how we approach the question of who we are and who we are meant to become. Many people live under the illusion that their true self is something fixed and hidden inside them, waiting to be unlocked by the right career, relationship, or life event. But Nietzsche disrupts this notion. To him, there is no final, pure version of you waiting to be revealed. There is only potential, raw material that you must mold with your own hands. You are not a statue trapped in marble waiting to be uncovered. You are the sculptor and the stone. This is where Nietzsche's challenge becomes both empowering and unsettling. If who you are is not already defined, then you must take responsibility for creating your values, your purpose, and your character. You can no longer blame fate, upbringing, or society for your limitations. The burden of freedom falls on your shoulders. You must ask yourself, what do I want to stand for? What kind of life am I willing to build, even when it hurts? These are not easy questions, but they are the beginning of authenticity. Nietzsche urges us to move beyond imitation. Too many people adopt identities handed to them by others, family expectations, cultural roles, religious doctrines, or the shallow ideals of social media. This is not becoming who you are. This is becoming what others want you to be. To truly create yourself, you must first dismantle what is not truly yours. This requires immense inner work. You must confront your fears, examine your beliefs, and have the courage to walk alone if your path does not align with the herd. Self-creation is a lifelong process. It involves failing, starting over, and constantly evolving. It is not about arriving at a perfect version of yourself. It is about living deliberately and with intention. In this way, Nietzsche's vision is not a destination but a journey. Every choice, every challenge, every reinvention is part of becoming who you are. In the end, become who you are is not a passive suggestion. It is a dare. A call to rise, to rebel, and to create a self that is not borrowed, but born out of your deepest will. And in that act of creation, you become more than what you were. You become who you are.
You must overcome the influence of herd morality.
In the modern world, many of us believe we are free thinkers, individuals with personal opinions and independent identities. But if we examine ourselves closely, we may find that our beliefs, fears, ambitions, and even our sense of right and wrong are largely shaped by those around us. Friedrich Nietzsche called this invisible force herd morality, a system of values that arises not from inner truth or critical reflection, but from the pressure to conform to what the majority believes is good, normal, or acceptable. Herd morality encourages sameness. It praises obedience, discourages risk, and vilifies those who deviate from the group's comfort zone. It teaches people to value safety over truth, popularity over integrity, and comfort over growth. While it may create social stability, it also leads to spiritual stagnation. Nietzsche believed that if you want to become who you truly are, you must break away from the herd. You must stop living according to what others think is right, and start asking what is right for you, even if that leads you into isolation, uncertainty, or pain. The danger of herd morality is that it disguises itself as virtue. It tells you that being humble means shrinking yourself. That being good means never offending anyone. That being successful means following a fixed, predictable path. But what if your soul yearns for more? What if your truth doesn't fit within the boundaries drawn by your culture, religion, or family? If you follow the herd, you may gain approval, but you risk losing your soul in the process. Nietzsche's call is not a call to rebellion for the sake of rebellion. It is a call to courage, the courage to listen to the voice within, even when it clashes with the world outside. To overcome herd morality is to reclaim your personal power. It means daring to think independently, to question inherited beliefs, and to forge your own values based on your lived experience and deep reflection. This process is not easy. The herd punishes those who leave it. You may be called arrogant, dangerous, or foolish. You may be misunderstood or rejected. But Nietzsche argued that this suffering is necessary. It is the price of authenticity. The path of self-overcoming, the path of becoming who you are, demands solitude, struggle, and strength. Yet it is also the only path that leads to true freedom and inner peace. To live under herd morality is to live someone else's life. To break free from it is to begin your own. And in that freedom, you may finally meet the person you were always meant to be.
Embrace the struggle. Suffering is a crucible for growth.
Suffering is an inevitable part of life, but its meaning is often misunderstood. In a world that encourages comfort, convenience, and quick solutions, we are taught to avoid pain at all costs. Yet, the great minds of philosophy, psychology, and spirituality all agree on one essential truth: suffering is not our enemy, it is a crucible for transformation. Nowhere is this more profoundly expressed than in the ideas of Friedrich Nietzsche, who insisted that struggle is not only unavoidable, but essential for becoming who we are meant to be. To understand suffering as a crucible is to reframe how we view hardship. A crucible, in its original form, is a container that can withstand extreme heat and is used to purify metals. In the same way, life's struggles apply pressure and heat to our character, burning away illusion, weakness, and falsehood, revealing a stronger, more refined self. Nietzsche wrote, "What does not kill me makes me stronger," a line often repeated but rarely understood in its full depth. He did not suggest that pain is automatically good. Instead, he proposed that how we respond to suffering determines whether it weakens or transforms us. Growth does not come from comfort. It comes from resistance, just like muscles grow by tearing and rebuilding. Our emotional and psychological resilience develops through enduring loss, heartbreak, failure, or rejection. These moments, though difficult, are teachers. They force us inward, into the places we usually avoid. And within those depths, we discover reserves of strength, insight, and creativity we never knew existed. Moreover, suffering reveals our true priorities. It strips us bare of distractions. When we are in pain, we no longer chase what's meaningless. We crave purpose, connection, healing. In these raw states, we become more honest with ourselves. Many of the world's greatest works of art, literature, and invention were born not from pleasure, but from the crucible of adversity. Great souls are not shaped in ease, they are shaped in storms. Yet, embracing struggle does not mean seeking pain or glorifying trauma. It means facing our difficulties with awareness and intention, rather than avoidance. It means using suffering as a signal, not a sentence. It's about leaning into discomfort, not as victims, but as alchemists of the soul, turning darkness into depth, wounds into wisdom. In truth, the human spirit is far more powerful than we think. We are meant to evolve, and growth always demands sacrifice. The path to authenticity, purpose, and peace does not bypass suffering, it walks straight through it. So the next time life tests you, remember, this fire isn't here to destroy you. It's here to forge you. Embrace the struggle, not because it is easy, but because it is necessary. Because through it, you will not only survive, you will become.
The will to power, shape your own meaning.
In a world that often seems chaotic and indifferent, one of the most powerful ideas ever proposed is Friedrich Nietzsche's concept of the will to power. Far from being a lust for dominance or control over others, Nietzsche envisioned this will as a deeply personal, creative force, a psychological and existential energy that drives each individual to transcend limitations, embrace growth, and shape meaning in a world that offers none by default. In a universe that provides no inherent purpose, the will to power becomes a call to action, to build a life that reflects your deepest truths, your highest values, and your unflinching self-authorship. Nietzsche rejected the idea of a preordained meaning handed down by gods, institutions, or moral codes. He believed such systems often suppressed individuality and discouraged questioning. Instead, he urged people to rise above herd mentality and become the creators of their own values. The will to power is not about physical power or material gain. It is about the internal drive to become who you truly are, not through conformity, but through resistance, through effort, through creation. To live by the will to power means to engage life actively, not passively. It means interpreting your experiences not as fate or punishment but as raw material for self-construction. Every obstacle becomes a challenge to evolve. Every pain becomes a sculptor's chisel. Every failure, a seed for transformation. You stop asking, "What should I do?" and start asking, "What can I create out of this moment?" Nietzsche believed that those who shape their own meaning become what he called the Übermensch, not a perfect or superior being in the traditional sense, but a human who has gone beyond conventional values and chosen their own path. This doesn't mean living selfishly or without regard for others. It means living authentically. No longer relying on borrowed beliefs, but building your worldview from the ground up, with courage, intelligence, and inner strength. In today's society, where many are still seeking validation, external rewards, or a sense of belonging at the cost of authenticity, Nietzsche's will to power is more relevant than ever. It asks us to stop living second-hand lives. It dares us to confront the terrifying freedom of being our own meaning makers. Ultimately, shaping your own meaning doesn't promise comfort. It promises significance. It's not the easy path, but it is the honest one. And in choosing it, you reclaim your agency, your individuality, and your power, not to rule others, but to rule yourself. In Nietzsche's world, nothing is given. But everything is possible, if you have the will to create it.
Live as if you choose your life eternally, the eternal return test.
Friedrich Nietzsche's concept of the eternal return is not just a philosophical theory, it's a challenge, a moral and existential test. Imagine, he said, that one day a demon whispers to you, "This life, exactly as you are living it now, with all its joys, regrets, mistakes, and mundane repetitions, you will have to live it again, endlessly, for all eternity." Would you fall to your knees in despair, or would you embrace the idea with a resounding yes? This is the test of eternal return. To live your life in such a way that you would willingly relive every moment of it forever. It's not about the literal truth of time looping, but rather a radical metaphor for how deeply you are aligned with your life. It asks, are you living in such a way that your choices are meaningful? Are your days full of authenticity? Or are you just passing time, hoping for escape, numbing your true desires? Nietzsche's test is unsettling because it leaves no room for excuses. It removes the comfort of, "Someday I'll change," or, "This is just a phase." It pushes you to confront the reality of now. If you wouldn't want to relive this very day over and over for eternity, perhaps you aren't truly living. Perhaps you're surviving, existing, conforming. To live as if you choose your life eternally doesn't mean chasing perfection. It means embracing your decisions, accepting responsibility for your path, and finding meaning in your struggles. Even suffering, Nietzsche argued, can be life-affirming when it's part of a greater journey of becoming. If your pain leads to transformation, it, too, becomes sacred. The point is not to avoid pain, but to avoid regret. Regret signals a life unlived, choices unmade, truth unspoken. This perspective invites presence and courage. It tells you to stop deferring your dreams. To stop saying yes when you mean no. To stop living a second-hand life. It urges you to align with what you value most, even when it's hard, even when it's lonely. Ask yourself, would I speak these words again? Would I make this decision again? Would I love this person, pursue this path, stay silent in this moment, if I had to relive it for eternity? If the answer is no, then you have found a crack in the mirror of your life that begs to be healed. Nietzsche's eternal return is not meant to imprison you. It is meant to liberate you from passive living, from falsehood, from fear. To live as if you choose your life eternally is to live fully awake, fully present, and fully accountable. Because in the end, eternity is not far away. It is in the weight of every single choice you make, now. And now, as we reach the end of this path, for now, you might be wondering, have I become who I am? The answer is both yes and no. Yes, because the moment you dared to ask that question, the moment you began peeling back the layers of false identity, you stepped onto the path. You lit a match in the darkness. You disrupted the illusion. And no, because becoming who you are is not a destination. It is a fire you feed daily, with truth, with courage, with discomfort. Nietzsche never promised that you would find a final version of yourself and rest there. He knew that the self is not a statue, but a flame, always burning, always dancing, always risking extinction if neglected. To become who you are is to accept that you are not finished. You are not meant to be perfect, you are meant to be becoming. That means stumbling, doubting, destroying and rebuilding again and again. It means confronting your shadow, loving your chaos, and choosing your values, not inheriting them. Nietzsche did not give us instructions. He gave us a mirror, and in it, a glimpse of our highest possibility. Not a blueprint, but a burden, the burden of freedom. No gods, no rules, no safety nets. Just you, your will, and the unknown. And that is enough. You were not made to live on autopilot. You were made to burn with intention, to suffer meaningfully, to rise uniquely. You were made to say yes to life, not just the easy parts, but the hard parts too. To say yes even when you are broken. To say yes even when you are afraid. To say yes when you are finally, terrifyingly, alone with yourself. This is the path of the Creator. This is what it means to live a life that is yours. So now, I leave you with this. Do not ask what the world wants you to be. Ask instead, what part of me have I not yet dared to become? That's where you begin. Because only when you become who you are, will the world see who you've always been.